Good morning, everyone. I'm Nishantini from 3rd UG as I'm studying in Holy Cross College. I would want to sincerely welcome everyone who have attended to this event. I welcome you all. Culture is the intersection of people and life. It is an expression of how we deal with life, love, death, birth, thought, character, and disappointment. It's my immense pleasure to welcome the professor as speaker, Sharmista Das. She is an assistant professor, postgraduate English department in West Bengal's Hooghly Muslim College. We are really privileged to have you here, ma'am. We are fortunate to have you in this session. I kindly request you to take care of this session, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your invitation and your welcome speech. And my good noon to all present here. I would like to share my slide. Please confirm uh, if it is visible. And then I have been assigned half an hour time. And since we are already running late, I can ensure that I'll complete within time. And my best regards and congratulations to the organizing college and the organizing trust. And I'm really indebted to you people, to Dr. Rajan Sylvest for having me invited here and allowing me and enabling me to share my ideas on this particular aspect of culture, that which is folk tourism. Is it visible? Just affirm any one of you, anyone
Yes,
from the audience.
yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Okay, and I'm also perfectly audible. My sound system is working right.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
so can I proceed? Okay, dear students, as I understand that the students are the participants here as well as the teacher faculty of this college. I would like to share my thoughts on this particular aspect of our culture, which is something which all of us have taken part. In some, intermittently we indulge in traveling. That is tour. And what is folk tourism and how this can reflect a part of our endeavor, of human endeavor, to enrich ourselves, not just entertain, but to enrich ourselves and also enrich and codify our culture in the larger global scenario, and how it runs certain risks of commercialization, as every cultural component, whether dance or song, or prayer, or garments and everything, has both facets to it, where it represents a certain very consecrated, valued part of our culture. But when it becomes open to all, when it becomes multiplied in quantity, when it becomes commodified, objectified, as to be presented and showed as a spectacle to the whole world in different forms, that it leads to a commercialization which at times trivializes the rarity, the uniqueness of the product. So folk or cultural background of any place which makes it a hotspot of tourist attraction is the center where I would like to focus, at the center of tourism, and how this culture, or folk or ethnic culture of the native land of any country. I have taken up, of course, my country, our country, and particularly a particular geographical region of my state, which I will come into the second part. I have begun to end. Okay, I will end hopefully within 12:55. Okay, so I've taken up a certain geographical portion, a part of West Bengal, with which I will represent better the meaning of folk culture and folk components. But before that, into the theoretical understanding of what is cultural tourism and how cultural tourism or ecotourism or ethnotourism, in the wake of globalization, or tourism, which is an industry, which is a profit-seeking industry like any other industry, is culpable into making this phenomena commercialized, thereby jeopardizing certain aspects of the folk culture. Okay, so the revival of folk culture in recent years has caused a rapid return. Now we all know that we generally are interested into touring, visiting places which are away from the city, far from the city pent, as a famous Keatsian quote goes. So away from the city, away from the metropolis, away from the hustle and bustle of life, we seek, salvation, or we seek peace, and the visual spectacle, of course, of mountains, of forests, and also of a region which has some unique cultural, folk, ethnic, native part in it. And in this whole endeavor, of course, we generally, what we do is we take help of the tourist agents in organizing the whole itinerary, and that promotion of the region, which is done by the tourist companies, is sure to attract our attention, and also the literature that is so pervasively discussed and is part of the canon and the university domain, that is the cultural studies on which this seminar itself is organized, has shown us that studying literature in just the restricted sense of the term is no more sufficient and viable for us to understand the larger meaning or essence of human existence. So that is why the inclusion of culture, the understanding of culture in its various ramifications, is essential to also shed a deeper light into the literary texts which come out of culture. And vice versa, the texts which talk on culture, or the literature which talk on culture, or the native geographical importance of a place, is always more helpful into providing better perception for an ordinary man who would like to, the literature is meant to provoke and insight for a better view of the tourist place. So preserving folk culture as a folk ornament or a folkloristic museum is part of this tourism agenda, which becomes a significant threat to its authenticity. Like, very simply, when we wish to folk tourism. Okay, when we wish to visit a place with a very genuine, authentic heritage interest, that is what is meant by folk tourism. Many of us as travelers are interested in such tours, aren't we? So beyond the forests and mountains and seas, we are also interested in folk tourism, where we wish to explore the authentic heritage interest of a particular place, like say Rajasthan, or rather every other place, Kanyakumari, every place rather, which has the heritage element in it, and certain travelers are more interested in understanding and exploring those cultural heritage elements. So obviously it would be sentimental in nature. Some travelers are more aligned with the religious part, some with the culinary part, some with the overall atmosphere part, some with the natives and the lifestyle. In academic literature, this has also come to be known as tribal tourism, as the traveler is generally interested in understanding the local tribes who inhabit those areas, and which still has not seen or touched or tempered by the modern developments of the industry. Okay, so how this kind of an individual interest, that is folk tourism or ethnotourism, becomes a commercialized cultural experience. So commercialized cultural, it seems like an oxymoron, but that is the sad truth, that cultural, we seek, that as a traveler, as an individual traveler, we seek cultural experience, but the whole pursuit or the whole quest has to be routed through the travel agency. And the travel agency will not benefit if it takes up an individual project. So obviously this becomes a collective endeavor on the part of the tourist agency, which is one of the biggest stakeholders of the whole tourism industry. And they are a profit-making industry where this individual wish will have to be made into a collective wish, and like-minded travelers will be provided with an itinerary where they will be taken to that particular place. So in this whole process, what happens is, in me trying to please this group of travelers, that particular region will develop certain folkloristic art form, certain commercialized workshops. They will also develop souvenirs, which will apparently represent their culture, which will only apparently give the tourist group a taste of that region. But in the whole thing, the underlying the intention or the underlying principle will become money making, both for the region where the tourist group has gone and also for the tourist agent who has arranged for this entire tour. So, and we as consumers, we are postmoderns, we are consumers not just of material goods, consumers of the cultural experience, consumers and collectors who for whom the many is better. So we often look for quantity, we often look for codified or symptomatic representation of cultural products, which is not authenticated or verified even by us while we are consuming a product which is supposed to represent a culture. So that is called, as we call it, tokenism, as a token of our visit, and how only as a token it may be a fake representation of that culture, of the local culture. It may be a tampered representation of the local culture, but we collect and we consume oftentimes with easygoing means and without probing into the authenticity of the product. So in a way, with even without our knowing or with our knowing, taking up an easy way of tour and travel and coming back, we are unable to forge that eco-touristic principle or eco-tourist-like principle, which functions more on understanding, more on absorbing, more on assimilation into the native culture, having a true feeling and having a true sense of what that place stands for, and then coming and writing about it or talking about it or just feeling it individually, giving it a larger window to get reflected to the global culture. So in the wake of tourism globalization, this whole tendency of traveling and traveling with limited time at disposal, with limited money at disposal, we oftentimes get modified and maneuvered by the agency, the tourism agency, the tourism industry, which entails a lot of cultural damage because it gives us a simplified understanding of the intricate traditions, standardizing them in the process, which definitely is harming the uniqueness of the tradition. But as we know that simplification is the call of the term, is the call of the day, where the traveler would be more attracted by the simplified representation rather than putting that much of effort into understanding the intricate aspects of the tradition of that particular place, because time and money both are short and everything has to be managed within that. So this obviously would lead to the socio-cultural damage, vanishing landscape and architecture, disruption of local community, and finally, the very the harmful aspect would be development of consumer behavior, even amongst the natives who were apparently not touched by the profit-making mind of the industrial aspects of the city principle, but they will be definitely touched by, wrongly motivated by this money-making tendency. And in the whole process, that would lead to the deterioration of the simple, of the greedless lifestyle of the village or of the native people, which is definitely, again, a damage to our local culture. Okay, so mass tourism, as we can also identify with, looks for cheap products which are easy to transport and which can pass as exotic, and that leads the that place which we have visited for some heritage interest, for some native interest, will build up workshops, spectacles, souvenirs with attributing some intentional agedness to their products, which will convert the original into a fake product. And we without probing much, will be satisfied with a token which may not be original at all. But there are cultural potential in this tourism. And the cultural potential is that how it helps preserve the local tradition, the cultural countryside, it improves the standards of living, it brings financial benefits. So the better aspects, better sides are always there. Potential of tourism is very large. How it develops a place, how it enables a place which was almost subsumed under the larger Indian cultural scenario, the individual places which will benefit from tourism in monetary terms, where past rituals and traditions which went defunct will be revived again, maybe for the sake of tourism or underneath the wake of tourism, where local communities will get new jobs, will get employment, they will have multicultural contacts, so they will be opened up to a larger world, they will be exposed in a better sense to the bigger world and its cross currents, which will not only make them more enlightened, but will also benefit them in monetary terms. So definitely tourism has a chance, has a potential for developing the rural regions in many senses. But to protect also protect or sustain, rather, I would say, the authenticity of the local culture, individual tourism is more necessary, where the three E's, experiential, experimental, and existential tourism, is something which is learned, which it sounds learned, and it is a learned way of approaching travel, of approaching a tour, where the individual tourist should be brave enough to seek adventure, to seek challenge, and also should have that intention to focus onto the nature and culture and climate and all the other local aspects of that region, without being like an ordinary traveler who only waits for interesting things to happen or who waits to come back just by collecting some token things from that region. So individual tourism, which is more of involved and committed approach on the part of the tourist to visit a place which is rich in authentic heritage interest, to understand that place in more deeper sense, in a truer sense, and explore and analyze and bring back the idea, and then transmitting and disseminating his impression. That, I think, is what going to preserve this local culture of a native place with more sustainability, in a way of globalized sustainability. Okay, the particular place that I told that I will be discussing as a place of heritage interest is a small town in West Bengal, which is 200 kilometers west of Kolkata via Kharagpur, and its name is Bishnupur. It's in the district of Bankura. And the brief history that at some points I have kept, that it was founded by almost in 1997 AD. It became the capital of the Malla kingdom. Its genesis goes even back, but it is from this particular era that Bishnupur has become that what it is known for today, a place, a center known for its art, known for its architecture, known for its textile, known for its fabric, known for its culture, its overall culture, its culinary specificities. So it is from the Malla kingdom of the 997 AD with Malla king Jagat Malla, who was the one who facilitated the development of art, architecture of this particular place. So he is to be taken up as the key contributor. So, and he was the one who developed it, because it is a temple town. The first temple needs to be mentioned. It was the Mrinmoyi Devi temple, established by him in 997 AD. And that is also the time when Bishnupur became the capital. Before Bishnupur, the capital of the Malla kingdom was Pradyumnapur, which is somewhat 15 kilometers away from Bishnupur. But then since the time Bishnupur became the capital city, as we all know, that it becomes an important business center. And apart from that, it becomes a center of excellence in art and architecture and music and many other things. And it's a temple town, as I have already mentioned. Apart from that, it still has a few lakes which had been established by those kings, Malla kings, for irrigation purposes. So this is one of the monuments of Bishnupur, Rash Moncho. which, as the name itself suggests, is related to the divine love, eternal love of Radha and Krishna. And Monchu is a stage. So this was actually a stage where the divine love of Radha Krishna got celebrated in true art forms of dance and music and poetry, and chants. And audiences used to come and sit, and it was a place of gathering for the or civil men, and how it was fostered and developed by and it was encouraged by the king and by the cultural center of the court, so that it could also provide both entertainment and education and divinity in the form of the festivities and in the form of the dance and song which were performed, celebrating the love of Radha and Krishna. So the Rash Moncho was a center of art and center of proliferation of our culture, wit, and religion. This is the Kala Chand temple of Bishnupur. As it can be seen, Kala, which means black, and Chand, which means the moon. So this is also done in an architectural style, which has black. This black is not blackened. It was black from the very beginning only. And how this particular temple is dedicated to an aspect of the moon, and in using the black bricks, or blackening the bricks and then using them for structuring this monument, gives it that uniqueness which the other temples do not have. This was the Gumghar, as it would point out or indicate that aspect of every kingdom when punishment in different forms. This was as the structure. This structure can, very well indicate to all of us, because we have seen this in many other parts of India also, where it is a structure which has no windows, which has no doors, which has no opening, and it is a prison. And it is not just an ordinary prison, it is a prison where offenders and criminals were kept, and they were starved to death. So it points out to that aspect of administration of the kings, which we all know was inevitable, and which we all know is something which needs a different discussion, probably. Modes of punishment. Okay, so this is again an avatar of Kali, where the head is not there, and that is why its name is Chinnamasta, which means Masta, which means a head, and Chin, which means segregated, and Ma is Ma Kali. And this is definitely auspicious, and as Kali is holding her own head in her own hand, and the other two avatars of Kali, or familiars of Kali, who are there seen standing on the left and the right side of the statue, they all bespeak of that aspect of Kali which is feared, which people are in awe of, which is revered, and which stands for that destructive aspect, or rather that aspect which destroys the evil with a ferocity, which so much is a stamp of our goddesses, Goddess Durga, Goddess Kali, who, apart from being the beautiful, the empowered, the beautiful, the representative of peace and prosperity, domesticity, they are also the aspect of that feminine self, which can become ferocious, which can become violent when it has to protect its own people, her own people, from evil or from the demon. This is again another aspect of architecture or even artwork, which used baked clay, turning them or giving them that tinge of reddish brown, making them look not only of a certain color, but also this particular intricate art form, as it can be seen from here, whatever little is visible from here, is known as the terracotta. And it is not only buildings and temples which used this form of brick making in constructing them, but also the artwork as is visible here, horses, daily use items, elephants, anything got made from, still gets made from this kind of clay, which gives them a very unique look and it is goes by the name of terracotta. This is the famous fabric of Bishnupur, which is Baluchori, which means whose specificity lies in this fact that apart from the fact that they get woven in very fine silk, they narrate tales from our cultural texts, whether Gita or Ramayana or Mahabharata. Episodes of from our cultural texts get weaved very intricately with a lot of pain and a lot of effort, with very shining and very good quality thread, which imparts that specific look of gold, silver, the brightness that is visible here. It lies either in the pallu or on the border of the sari. And that, apart from making it beautiful, it also narrates a certain episodes, as I told you, taken up from our cultural texts, and how it means that a woman in her attire, in her garment, is able also to embody in a literal sense, or in a literal and metaphorical sense, the different interesting anecdotes and stories and parts of our culture. These are actually very costly, but just as I was my first part of my talk, I just mentioned that how things get tampered and things get falsified. So these actually comes at a very high price, but to satisfy customers or tourists rather, who are also customers and who are also consumers of art form, false versions of these saris are made and they are sold at much lesser price. And what happens to the tourist who carries back this product and shows it as a representative of Baluchari art that is coming from a part of West Bengal, is that means just inadvertently representing a false thing which has been sold to that person just so that it becomes affordable. So we know that that means this kind of tourism or this kind of cultural commercialized behavior is how it can destroy the authenticity of a product, and how it can misrepresent the product that it comes from a certain region, and it comes with a falsified representation, completely eliding the real beauty, the real quality of the product. This is another one, which is a non-ferrous metal. It never rusts. That is why it never rusts. It's called the Dokra craft. As you can, the Mohenjo-daro dancing girl was also a Dokra craft. So it dates back as Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, maybe even more ancient times. But Bishnupur has kept this art alive, and still now, the product made from this non-ferrous metal, the samples are seen here, and anything under the sun can be made out of this metal as an artifact. And these are also costly items. And the same thing happens where falsified Dokra craft also gets sold, which blackens, whose tinge changes, and definitely which comes at a cheaper price, but completely misrepresents the Dokra craft. But the original one is a non-ferrous metal which doesn't rust and which has a certain shine and a gloss, and of course which is beautiful. Its intricate design and everything, it speaks for how Bishnupur has worked hard, or rather has held on to the authentic heritage, and is still reviving it at every step by making these artifacts. And they are sold worldwide. They have a very large market. The authentic ones also have a very large market. There are customers for the genuine products, but there are also customers who would rest at ease with an even falsified replica of a Dokra craft. So that is what goes wrong when the tourism experience is commercialized. Okay, so how to, also this is a two-way move where the unique heritage interest of a place which is in some corner of our country, how should that place be reflected and given a wider viewership, a wider visibility, but at the same time sustaining its uniqueness, its purity, its rarity, its nativity, and how this almost is like a contradiction, how it can be resolved. Because in order for the whole world to see, in order to make it visible, every every such part of the of any country needs to participate in this globalization trend. And this globalization trend has this inevitable capacity of subsuming things in a commercialized aspect, in a consumerist culture. So how to at the same time become visible and stay away from becoming consumerist and commercialized? So ecotourism was actually devised with this principle in mind. It's a praxis which entails existential travel, experiential travel, and experimental travel, and on an individual way, however small. It needs the support of the government, it needs support of the tourism agencies as well, where the authenticity of a place needs to be protected, as well as it needs to be visualized and come out as a spectacle in the broader scenario in front of the whole world, giving it a world, a place in the world which till now or till a certain point of time simply stayed within, was lost in the pages of history, local history. So the local history to become a global part needs the support of the government, support of enthusiastic travelers, and also a support of the ecotourism, which should itself be considered as a very agenda-driven agency, whose agenda will be not just money making, but also will be the proper protection of the heritage interest of our country, of the parts of the different parts of our country, which we all know make up the whole India, which we live in and which we are proud of. Okay, thank you. I think I have maintained my time, and I've ended exactly within what I told I will.
Yes, ma'am. We really love the session. And students, if we have any doubts, you can clarify now. Unmute your mic and ask.
Yes, I would also love to take questions. I believe, people should have things to contribute. You need not question, or I mean, you can just come out with your observation with any such tour which you have undertaken or you might be interested in, because travel and this eternal desire to go and visit places and to collect things and to collect authentic things are always there in each one of us. Only that we cannot always afford the time and money. Yeah,